Welcome to Timeless Bedtime Tales, where history whispers and night carries the stories of forgotten worlds. High in the Himalayas, where the mountains rise so slowly that the sky seems to rest upon them, night arrives without sound. Snow settles gently on stone roofs, one soft breath at a time, and the world grows still in a way known only to places far removed from human hurry. There, hidden among ridges and pine forests, stands an ancient temple built of dark stone and patience. It has stood for centuries, watching seasons pass like slow-moving clouds, never asking anything of them in return. As evening deepens, the last pale light fades from the peaks. The sun slips away behind distant mountains, leaving behind a soft indigo glow that lingers like a memory. Wind moves through prayer flags strung between wooden poles, but even the wind is careful here, moving gently so as not to disturb the silence. The flags whisper without words, their frayed edges fluttering slowly, as if breathing along with the mountain itself. Inside the temple courtyard, the stones are cold beneath bare feet. The monks move quietly, their steps unhurried, their presence calm and steady. They have lived their days in simplicity, rising before dawn, working, meditating, and listening to the long silence that stretches between sounds. Now, as night settles, their movements slow even further, as if time itself has softened. One monk pauses near the edge of the courtyard. He looks out across the valley below, where darkness has pooled like still water. No fires burn there tonight. No voices rise. Only the faint outline of ridges can be seen beneath a sky slowly filling with stars. He does not name the constellations. He simply watches, letting the vastness ease his thoughts until they grow quiet. A bell rings once, low and gentle, its tone spreading through the temple halls like warm air. It is not a call of urgency, only a reminder. The monks gather inside, their robes brushing softly against stone floors polished smooth by generations before them. Oil lamps glow along the walls, their flames steady, casting slow-moving shadows that stretch and settle again. The meditation hall is wide and simple. Wooden pillars rise into darkness overhead, their tops hidden where lamplight cannot reach. The monks sit in a loose circle, back straight, hands resting easily in their laps. No one speaks. Words are not needed. The silence here is complete, yet comforting, like a familiar blanket. Outside, snow begins to fall again. Each flake drifts down without direction, guided only by gravity and patience. It gathers on pine branches, on stone steps, on the roof tiles of the temple. The sound is almost nothing at all, a faint hush that deepens the quiet rather than breaking it. Breath by breath, the monks settle deeper into stillness. In the lamplight, their faces appear calm and untroubled, shaped by years of quiet attention. Thoughts come and go like distant echoes, never staying long. The mind, like the mountain air, becomes clear and spacious. Far beyond the temple walls, the Himalayas stretch endlessly. Peaks rise and fall in layered silhouettes, ancient and unmoving. They have seen empires come and go, travelers pass through, stories begin and fade. Tonight, they simply stand watch, holding the silence with steady strength. A faint chanting begins, barely louder than breath. It flows slowly, each tone sustained and gentle, blending with the soft crackle of oil lamps. The chant does not seek to awaken or excite. It drifts, steady and low, guiding the mind toward rest, toward the deep calm that lies beneath thought. As the chant fades, the monks remain seated, listening to what remains. Silence returns, fuller than before, enriched by the sound that has passed through it. Time feels different here, stretched thin, unimportant. minutes and hours lose their edges, merging into a single, peaceful moment. One by one, the monks rise and leave the hall. Their movements are slow, deliberate, respectful of the night. Lamps are dimmed but not extinguished, leaving a warm glow to guard the darkness. Doors are closed softly, never allowed to slam. In the sleeping quarters, simple mats rest on wooden floors. Blankets are folded neatly, waiting. The monks lie down without ceremony, letting the body rest as naturally as the mountains rest beneath the stars. Breath slows. Muscles soften. The mind drifts gently, like a cloud dissolving into the night sky. Outside, the wind pauses. Snow settles. Stars shine steadily above the peaks, unblinking and calm. The hidden Himalayan temple sleeps, wrapped in silence, guarded by stone and sky, breathing quietly through the long, peaceful night. Night deepens further, and the silence grows richer, layered with distance and depth. The temple rests as if it has always been waiting for this hour, when the world finally slows enough to listen. In the narrow corridors between stone walls, the air remains cool and clean, carrying the faint scent of incense that lingers from earlier prayers. It clings gently to the senses, never strong, never demanding attention. Beyond the sleeping quarters, a single lamp continues to burn in a small side chamber. Its flame sways slightly, responding to unseen currents of air, casting a soft amber glow across ancient murals painted directly onto the stone. The colors have faded over centuries, yet they remain calm and reassuring, telling quiet stories of mountains, rivers, and travelers who once passed through seeking rest and understanding. Somewhere in the distance, far below the temple, a river moves through the valley. It cannot be seen, but it can be felt, its presence steady and constant. The water flows slowly over smooth stones, shaping them over time, never rushing, never stopping. Its sound is low and continuous, like a long exhale that never quite ends. The monks have listened to this river for many years, and even in sleep, their breathing seems to follow its rhythm. Snow continues to fall in unbroken patience. It settles into every small hollow, softening sharp edges, smoothing the world into gentler forms. The mountains accept it without resistance. Pines bend slightly under its weight, then become still again. The temple roof gathers a white layer, insulating the warmth beneath, protecting those inside from the cold beyond the walls. Inside one of the chambers, a monk shifts slightly in his sleep. His movement is minimal, no more than a subtle change in breath, as if he has turned within a dream. His face remains peaceful, untouched by worry or tension. Years of quiet living have trained the body to rest deeply, without struggle. Dreams come softly here, if they come at all. Time passes without measurement. There are no clocks, no bells marking the hours now. Only the slow turning of the earth beneath the stars, the steady pulse of night. The moon rises higher, bathing the upper peaks in pale silver light. It traces the outlines of ridges and valleys, revealing their vastness, then moves on, never lingering. In the courtyard, snow covers the stone completely. Footsteps from earlier have disappeared, erased gently by falling flakes. The place looks untouched, as if no one has walked there for centuries. The prayer flags hang heavy with frost, their colors muted, their movement slowed. Even so, they remain present, bearing silent witness to the passing night. High above, the sky feels endless. Stars appear sharper at this altitude, their light clear and unwavering. They seem close enough to reach, yet remain forever distant. They have watched over this temple since long before it was built, and they will continue long after its stones have returned to the earth. Their quiet presence brings a sense of continuity, of calm endurance. A faint breeze returns, brushing lightly against the walls, slipping through narrow openings, carrying the cold scent of snow and stone. It moves through the temple like a careful visitor, touching nothing, disturbing no one. Lamps flicker once, then steady again. Deep within the meditation hall, the emptiness feels full rather than vacant. The space holds the memory of earlier stillness, of breathing bodies and shared silence. Even now, it seems to hum faintly, not with sound, but with awareness. The stone floor retains a trace of warmth, a reminder of human presence, now softened by absence. As the night continues, clouds drift across the sky, briefly veiling the stars. Darkness thickens, then thins again as the clouds move on. Snowfall slows, becoming more sporadic, until it finally stops. The world feels suspended, balanced between motion and rest. In the early hours before dawn, the cold reaches its deepest point. The air becomes sharper, more crystalline. Inside, the monks remain warm beneath simple blankets, their breath visible only in imagination, steady and slow. Sleep here is not escape, but continuation, another form of meditation carried out by the body. The hidden Himalayan temple remains silent and watchful, cradled by mountains, wrapped in night. Nothing presses forward. Nothing demands attention. The world simply is, quiet and complete, resting peacefully as the long night gently unfolds. Long before the first hint of morning, the night settles into its deepest stillness. It is a kind of silence that feels ancient, older than language, older than memory. The temple rests within it effortlessly, as if it were shaped by this quiet rather than built against it. Stone walls hold the cold at bay, and within them, warmth lingers gently, not as heat, but as balance. In one corner of the temple complex, a narrow window faces east. It is small and simple, cut into the stone centuries ago by hands that moved slowly and with care. Through it, the sky appears as a dark, endless blue, untouched by any glow of cities or roads. From here, the world seems vast and empty, and at the same time, perfectly complete. The monks continue to sleep, their rest deep and undisturbed. Their breathing moves in unison, though they are scattered across different rooms. In this place, even sleep feels shared, as if the mountain itself is breathing alongside them. The body softens, the mind releases its last wandering thoughts, and awareness sinks into a quiet center that has no words. Outside, ice forms delicate patterns along the edges of stone steps and wooden railings. Each crystal grows slowly, patiently, shaping itself according to the cold. Nothing rushes. Nothing forces itself into being. The world allows itself to form naturally, moment by moment. Far down in the valley, the unseen river continues its steady journey. It moves through darkness without hesitation, guided by the shape of the land rather than by sight. Over countless years, it has learned every curve, every stone, every gentle slope. Tonight, it carries melted snow from distant peaks, adding its quiet song to the night, a sound so constant it becomes part of the silence. The wind shifts again, just slightly. It glides across the snow-covered ground, lifting fine powder into the air for a brief moment before letting it settle again. It passes along the temple walls, traces the carved symbols worn smooth by time, and continues on its way, never lingering, never intruding. Within the meditation hall, the oil lamps have burned low. Their flames are smaller now, but still steady, still present. Shadows cling to the corners of the room, unmoving. The wooden pillars stand tall and patient, having supported countless nights like this one. They remember every prayer, every moment of stillness, not as stories, but as impressions held quietly within their grain. As hours pass, the stars slowly change position in the sky. Some fade as others emerge, subtle shifts that mark time without announcing it. The moon drifts lower, its light softening as it nears the edge of the mountains. Silver highlights along the peaks grow dimmer, blending back into the deep blue of night. In the monk's dreams, if dreams come at all, they are simple and spacious. There are no sharp images, no sudden movements. Perhaps there is the feeling of walking along a familiar path, or sitting beside still water, or listening to the wind move through tall grass. These dreams do not pull the mind away from rest, they deepen it. The cold outside reaches a quiet equilibrium. Snow no longer falls, and the air becomes clear and still. The world feels paused, as though holding its breath. In this pause, everything feels balanced, aligned, and calm. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the night begins to thin. Not with light, but with a change in quality, a subtle easing of darkness. The sky shifts from deep indigo toward a softer shade, though stars still shine brightly. This change is so gentle it could easily be missed, but the mountains sense it, and the temple seems to sense it too. Inside, one monk stirs slightly, not waking, but adjusting, as if responding to the faintest signal of approaching day. His breath remains slow and even. The body knows what the mind does not yet need to know. In the courtyard, the snow reflects the faintest hint of color returning to the sky. Stone beneath remains hidden, waiting. The prayer flags hang still, their edges stiff with frost, their presence quiet and enduring. The hidden Himalayan temple remains wrapped in calm, held between night and morning. Nothing has changed, and yet everything is slowly preparing to change. For now, rest continues, deep and undisturbed, as the long night gently loosens its hold, and the world remains peaceful, silent, and whole. The approach of morning is so gentle that it feels more like a memory than a moment. Darkness does not leave all at once. Instead, it slowly releases its hold, loosening its grip on the mountains, the valley, and the hidden temple stone by stone, breath by breath. The air remains cold, but it is no longer sharp. It softens slightly, as if touched by a distant promise of warmth. High above the temple, the sky changes its tone almost imperceptibly. Deep blue gives way to a quieter shade, neither night nor day. Stars remain visible, but their light feels thinner now, as though they are slowly retreating into the vast distance from which they came. The moon rests low behind the peaks, its glow dimmed, its task complete for this night. Inside the sleeping chambers, the monks continue to rest. Their bodies remain still, their breathing slow and steady. Sleep here is not heavy or unconscious. It is clear and spacious, like floating gently in still water. The mind does not cling to thoughts. It simply drifts, aware without effort, present without intention. A faint sound moves through the temple grounds. It is not a sound made by hand or voice, but the subtle settling of snow as it adjusts to the changing air. Tiny crystals shift and slide, releasing a soft, nearly inaudible whisper. It blends seamlessly with the silence, becoming part of it rather than interrupting it. In the courtyard, the snow reflects the sky's gradual lightening. The white surface begins to show the faintest hint of color, a soft gray-blue that feels cool and calm to the eyes. Stone paths remain hidden beneath the snow, waiting patiently for footsteps that will come later, at their proper time. Deep within the temple, the meditation hall remains untouched since the night before. Lamps have burned down to small pools of glowing oil, their flames barely moving. The air inside feels dense with stillness, as though it has absorbed the quiet of countless nights and now holds it gently, offering it to anyone who enters. The wooden beams overhead creak once, softly, as the temperature shifts. The sound is slow and natural, like an old tree adjusting its weight. It echoes briefly, then disappears, leaving the silence intact. Nothing startles. Nothing breaks the calm. Far below, the river continues its endless journey. Its waters move steadily, guided by gravity and time. As dawn approaches, the river does not change its pace. It does not rush to meet the day. It simply continues, knowing that light and darkness are only passing states along its path. Within the monks' rooms, subtle changes begin to occur. A breath deepens slightly. A hand relaxes further against a blanket. A shoulder shifts, easing tension that had already nearly vanished. These movements are small and unremarkable, yet they signal the body's quiet awareness of the world turning. Outside the temple walls, the mountains stand unmoved. They have welcomed this transition thousands of times before. Dawn has never surprised them, nor has night ever unsettled them. They remain steady, holding the sky and earth in equal measure, offering their stillness freely to everything that rests among them. The sky grows lighter, not brighter, but softer. Color seeps in gradually, like ink spreading through water. Pale gray blends with faint blue, and somewhere far beyond the peaks, the sun prepares to rise without urgency. There is no dramatic shift, no sudden glow, only a slow unfolding. In the eastern distance, the outline of a far ridge becomes clearer. Its shape sharpens just enough to be noticed, then settles again into gentle focus. The world seems to stretch, waking slowly, as though it, too, has been sleeping deeply. One monk opens his eyes for a brief moment, not fully waking, simply observing. The dim light filtering through a small window touches the stone floor, creating a soft patch of pale color. He notices it without naming it, without following a thought about it. His eyes close again, content, resting in awareness. The temple remains quiet. No bells ring yet. No voices rise. Morning is not announced here, it arrives naturally, invited by stillness rather than commanded by sound. The monks understand this rhythm well. They have lived within it for years, aligning their lives not with clocks, but with light, breath, and silence. Outside, frost glistens faintly along the edges of stones and wooden rails. As the air warms just enough, some of it begins to melt, forming tiny droplets that cling briefly before slipping away. Each drop falls softly into the snow, disappearing without trace. The prayer flags stir again, just slightly. Their movement is slow, almost hesitant, as if they are testing the air before committing to motion. They carry no message now, only presence, only the quiet reminder that the world is still breathing. As the first true hint of daylight approaches, the temple remains wrapped in calm. Nothing rushes forward. Nothing lingers behind. The night releases its hold gently, and the day waits respectfully at the edge. For now, the hidden Himalayan temple continues to rest, balanced between darkness and light, sleep and waking. The monks remain peaceful, the mountains remain watchful, and the world remains soft and silent, unfolding at its own unhurried pace, just as it always has, and just as it always will. As daylight slowly gathers strength beyond the eastern peaks, it remains gentle and restrained, never sudden. The sky lightens layer by layer, like a slow breath being taken after a long rest. Pale blue spreads quietly above the mountains, dissolving the last deep shadows without disturbing them. The stars fade one by one, not disappearing, but simply becoming unnecessary as the world begins to glow on its own. Within the temple grounds, the air carries a subtle change. It is still cold, still crisp, yet there is a softness now, a quiet invitation rather than a sharp edge. Stone walls, chilled through the night, begin to release the cold they have held, little by little. The temple seems to stretch inwardly, not moving, but awakening in its own ancient way. The monks remain asleep, but their rest has shifted. Sleep is lighter now, closer to the surface of awareness. Breathing deepens naturally, expanding through the chest and belly with slow ease. Each breath feels complete, unhurried, as though there is no need to rush toward waking. The body understands that time is abundant here. Outside, the snow-covered courtyard begins to reflect the growing light. What was once a single blanket of white now reveals subtle textures and contours. Gentle slopes appear where the ground dips, faint lines where stone paths lie hidden beneath. Everything looks softened, as if shaped by kindness rather than force. From a nearby pine tree, a small clump of snow releases itself and falls silently to the ground. It makes no sound, leaving only a slight disturbance in the smooth surface below, which quickly blends back into stillness. The tree stands tall and quiet, its branches heavy but uncomplaining, content to hold what the night has given. Far below, the river continues its steady movement, now catching the faintest hints of reflected light. Its surface remains unseen from the temple, yet its presence is felt in the air, in the subtle moisture that clings to stone and wood. It flows without awareness of night or day, guided only by gravity and patience, teaching by example. Inside one of the chambers, a monk slowly awakens. His eyes open without effort, adjusting easily to the dim morning light. He does not rise immediately. He lies still, noticing the sensation of breath, the weight of his body against the mat, the quiet hum of the world beyond the walls. There is no rush to move, no thought pulling him forward. In another room, a second monk shifts slightly, rolling onto his side. The simple blanket moves with him, settling again without sound. His face remains calm, his expression untroubled. Waking here does not bring tension or urgency. It unfolds gently, like the opening of a flower that has waited all night for the sun. The meditation hall remains empty, but it no longer feels dormant. Light begins to slip through narrow openings high in the walls, forming thin beams that rest quietly on the stone floor. Dust motes drift slowly within them, moving so lazily they seem suspended in time. The hall feels expectant, not waiting for something new, but welcoming the continuation of what already is. Outside the temple walls, the mountains begin to show more detail. Ridges sharpen slightly, revealing their layered forms. Shadows retreat into crevices and valleys, leaving behind a calm clarity. The peaks do not glow dramatically. They simply become visible, standing as they always have, steady and vast. A faint breeze returns, gentler than before. It moves across the snow, lifting a whisper of cold air, then passes on. Prayer flags respond with a slow, measured flutter. Their fabric, stiff from frost, loosens just enough to move freely again. They sway not to announce the day, but to acknowledge it. One by one, the monks begin to wake fully. They sit up slowly, taking a moment to settle into awareness before standing. Movements are deliberate and quiet. Feet touch the cold floor without complaint. Robes are adjusted with simple care. No words are exchanged yet. Morning does not require speech. In the courtyard, the first monk steps outside. His breath forms a soft cloud in the cold air, rising briefly before dissolving. He stands still, facing the mountains, allowing his eyes to rest on their vast forms. The sky above them is now a pale, open blue, clean and endless. He feels small, yet not diminished. Supported, rather than overshadowed. Another monk joins him, then another. They stand together in silence, sharing the moment without looking at one another. The world feels balanced, as though night and day have met and agreed upon a peaceful exchange. The cold remains, but it is no longer isolating. It feels alive, refreshing, clear. Somewhere within the temple, a bell is lifted. It is not rung yet. Its presence alone is enough to mark the transition. The monks breathe together, deep and slow, grounding themselves in the morning before sound enters the space. The snow begins to melt more noticeably now. Tiny streams form along stone edges, tracing paths that will vanish by midday. Droplets fall from roof tiles, landing softly below. Each sound is delicate, never sharp, adding texture to the quiet rather than breaking it. The hidden Himalayan temple has awakened, but it has not changed. It remains calm, patient, and rooted in stillness. The night has passed gently, the morning has arrived respectfully, and between them lies a deep continuity that does not require attention to exist. The monks prepare to begin their day as they always have, slowly, intentionally, without resistance. Yet for this moment, there is nothing to do, nowhere to go. Only the breath, the mountains, the light, and the quiet presence of a world moving at its natural pace. The silence remains, not empty, but full. It holds the memory of the night and the promise of the day, offering both without distinction. And within that silence, the temple continues to stand, hidden and enduring, breathing calmly with the mountains, as the new day unfolds without hurry. The morning settles more firmly now, yet it does so without urgency. Light spreads across the temple grounds in a calm, even way, touching stone, wood, and snow with the same quiet respect. The sky remains pale and open, free of harsh brightness, as though it understands the need for gentleness after such a long night. The monks begin to move with soft purpose. Their steps across the courtyard are slow and measured, leaving faint impressions in the thinning snow. Each footprint appears briefly, then softens at the edges as melting continues. Nothing here is meant to last forever, and nothing resists that truth. A bell finally rings, once, then again, its tone deep and round. The sound travels outward, rolling gently across the courtyard and into the surrounding mountains. It does not echo sharply. Instead, it fades naturally, absorbed by stone, snow, and distance. The sound feels less like a command and more like an invitation to presence. The monks gather in the meditation hall once more. Sunlight now reaches farther inside, illuminating the stone floor in broad, quiet patches. The air feels fresh and clear, carrying the faint scent of cold stone and melting snow. The monks sit as they did the night before, backs straight, hands resting easily, eyes soft or closed. Breath fills the hall again, slow and even. With each inhale, cool mountain air enters the body. With each exhale, warmth returns to the space. The rhythm is steady and unforced. Outside sounds drift in gently, the soft drip of melting snow, the distant movement of water, the whisper of wind along the walls. Thoughts arise briefly, then pass. The mind does not cling to them. There is nothing to solve, nothing to plan. The morning practice is not separate from the night's rest. It is a continuation, a seamless flow from stillness into awareness. As time moves forward, the sun climbs just enough to touch the highest peaks. Their snow-covered faces glow faintly, reflecting light back into the sky. Lower ridges remain in shadow, creating layers of contrast that feel calm rather than dramatic. The mountains reveal themselves gradually, offering no sudden surprises. After meditation, the monks rise together. They bow slightly, acknowledging the space and one another without words. The hall empties slowly, its quiet preserved rather than disturbed. Lamps are extinguished fully now, their purpose complete. Daylight has taken over naturally, without struggle. In the kitchen area, simple preparations begin. Water is heated slowly. Grains are measured carefully. Movements remain unhurried, precise, and calm. The monks work together in silence, each action familiar, each gesture practiced over years of repetition. The sounds of the morning are soft and reassuring, the gentle clink of a bowl, the low murmur of water warming, the quiet placement of utensils. Steam rises faintly, drifting upward before disappearing into the cool air. The scent of warm grain mixes with the lingering freshness of night, creating a comforting balance. Nothing is excessive. Nothing is wasted. The morning meal is nourishment, not indulgence, taken with gratitude rather than desire. Outside, the courtyard continues to change. Snow recedes from stone paths, revealing their dark, smooth surfaces beneath. Water flows along shallow channels carved long ago to guide melt away from the temple walls. These channels glisten briefly in the light, then settle into shadow as clouds drift lazily across the sky. Birds begin to appear, small and quiet. They land briefly on low walls or branches, observing the stillness before moving on. Their presence feels natural, unintrusive. They do not sing loudly. They simply exist, adding life to the morning without overwhelming it. One monk steps away from the main grounds and walks toward the edge of the temple path. He moves slowly, feeling the uneven stone beneath his feet. From here, the valley opens wide, revealing layers of ridges and forest stretching into the distance. Light moves across them gradually, revealing depth and scale. He stands there for a long moment, breathing in the cold, clean air. There is no sense of isolation, only connection. The mountains feel like companions rather than obstacles. The valley feels open rather than empty. Everything seems to rest together in a shared quiet. Behind him, the temple continues its gentle rhythm. Breakfast is shared in silence. Bowls are emptied calmly, without haste. When the meal is complete, everything is cleaned and returned to its place. Order here is not strict, it is natural, arising from attention rather than control. As the morning progresses, clouds begin to gather lightly around some of the higher peaks. They drift slowly, wrapping stone in soft white veils. Sunlight filters through them, diffused and gentle. Shadows move gradually across the ground, marking time without measuring it. The monks disperse to their daily tasks. Some tend to small gardens sheltered from the cold. Others repair stonework or wooden beams worn by years of weather. Each task is done with care, not to finish quickly, but to do it well. Work here is another form of meditation, another way of listening. The hidden Himalayan temple settles fully into the day. Night feels distant now, yet not forgotten. Its calm remains present, carried forward in breath, movement, and awareness. The world continues to unfold slowly, without pressure, without demand. And as the sun rises higher, warming stone and earth just enough to be felt, the temple remains what it has always been. Quiet. Enduring. Rooted in stillness. A place where time moves gently, and where every moment, whether night or day, is allowed to arrive in its own way, unforced and complete. As the day advances, it does so with the same unhurried grace that marked the night and morning before it. Light shifts gradually across the temple walls, warming the stone just enough to be felt beneath the monks' hands as they work. The air remains cool, but there is comfort in it now, a balance between cold and warmth that feels steady and clear. The gardens near the temple begin to show subtle signs of life. Small patches of earth, protected by low stone walls, emerge from beneath melting snow. Dark soil appears, rich and still, holding the promise of growth that will come later in the season. The monks tend to these spaces carefully, brushing away snow, adjusting stones, listening to what the land requires rather than imposing their will upon it. Each movement is slow and deliberate. Hands work gently, fingers sensing texture and temperature. There is no sense of labor as burden here. The work is simply another way to remain present, another way to move in harmony with the mountain and the day. Time continues to pass unnoticed, measured only by the changing quality of light. In the distance, clouds drift lower, wrapping some peaks in soft white layers. Others remain clear, their snow-bright faces reflecting the sun. The contrast feels calming rather than dramatic. The mountains reveal and conceal themselves without urgency, reminding the world that not everything needs to be seen at once. Inside the temple, the corridors are now fully lit by daylight filtering through narrow openings. Shadows shorten and shift, sliding along the stone floors like slow-moving water. The air carries the faint echo of footsteps, then settles back into silence. Even sound here knows how to rest. One monk pauses near a window, looking outward. From this angle, the sky feels vast and open, stretching far beyond the ridges. He does not search it for meaning or signs. He simply allows his gaze to soften, letting the openness ease the mind. Thoughts arise briefly, then dissolve, leaving only the sensation of standing, breathing, and being held by the moment. Far below, the river continues its steady flow, now carrying more melted snow. Though unseen, it feels closer somehow, as if the day has brought its presence nearer. Its sound, faint and continuous, merges with the quiet of the temple, reinforcing the sense of continuity that runs through everything here. As midday approaches, the sun reaches a higher position, but it never becomes harsh. At this altitude, the light remains clean and gentle, warming without overwhelming. Stone walls absorb it slowly, releasing a mild warmth that lingers even when clouds pass overhead. The monks gather again briefly, not for ceremony, but for shared presence. They sit together in a simple space, drinking warm water in silence. Steam rises gently from their cups, curling upward before fading. Each breath seems to carry both warmth and clarity, grounding the body while freeing the mind. Afterward, they return to their individual tasks. Some walk along narrow mountain paths, checking prayer flags and wooden supports. Others remain within the temple, repairing small cracks in stone, smoothing worn surfaces, preserving what has been entrusted to them. Each action feels timeless, part of a rhythm that has repeated itself across generations. Outside, snow continues to retreat. Water traces new paths along the ground, following channels carved long ago by careful hands. These channels guide melt away from the temple, protecting its foundations. The water moves quietly, glinting briefly in the sun before disappearing into shadow. Birds move more freely now, hopping between stones and branches. Their presence adds gentle motion to the stillness, never loud, never demanding. Occasionally, one lifts into the air, wings beating softly, then vanishes into the trees beyond the courtyard. The afternoon light begins to soften, losing some of its brightness as it angles lower. Colors deepen slightly, stone appearing darker, wood richer in tone. Shadows stretch again, long and calm, echoing the shape of the mountains themselves. A monk walks slowly along the outer edge of the temple grounds. With each step, he feels the uneven stone beneath his feet, the slight give where earth shows through. He pauses often, not from fatigue, but from awareness, allowing the senses to fully receive the world as it is in this moment. The air carries the faint scent of pine and cold stone. Somewhere nearby, ice breaks free from a shaded ledge, falling softly into snow below. The sound is brief and gentle, leaving no trace beyond a subtle shift in the surface. As the sun lowers further, the temperature begins to drop again, almost imperceptibly. Warmth lingers in stone and body, but the crispness of evening approaches quietly. The monks feel it without naming it, adjusting their movements naturally, gathering what is needed before light fades further. Within the temple, lamps are prepared once more. Oil is checked, wicks adjusted. There is no rush to light them yet. Daylight still fills the halls, though softer now, tinged with gold and pale amber. Clouds thin out in places, opening windows of sky where blue deepens again. The mountains respond subtly, their outlines sharpening against the changing light. Valleys deepen in shadow, becoming quiet pools of darkness once more. As evening draws closer, the temple's rhythm slows naturally. Tasks are completed, tools set aside. The day's work ends not with finality, but with gentle closure. Everything is returned to its place, ready for the next cycle. The monks gather again in the courtyard, standing quietly as the sun nears the horizon. Its light brushes the highest peaks one last time, igniting them briefly in soft gold before slipping away. The moment feels complete, neither beginning nor ending, simply passing. Breath deepens. The air cools further. Shadows lengthen and merge. The hidden Himalayan temple prepares once more for night, not as something new, but as a return. The calm of darkness approaches with familiarity, welcomed without resistance. The world settles again, moving steadily toward stillness. Day fades gently, just as night had faded before it. And within this endless rhythm of light and dark, work and rest, the temple remains steady and quiet, breathing with the mountains, holding space for silence, as evening slowly unfolds into another peaceful night. As evening deepens, the colors of the world soften further, as if the mountains themselves are exhaling after a long, calm day. The sky shifts from pale gold to muted amber, then gradually into a deeper blue. The transition is slow enough that it feels almost invisible, like the turning of a page without sound. The sun disappears behind the western ridges, leaving behind a lingering warmth that rests briefly on stone and earth before fading. Cool air settles gently into the temple grounds. It moves along the courtyard floor, slipping around stone steps and low walls, carrying with it the quiet scent of snow and pine. The monks feel the change instinctively. Robes are drawn slightly closer. Movements become even more deliberate, conserving warmth without tension. Everything adjusts naturally, without thought. The lamps are lit one by one. Each flame is small and steady, casting a circle of warm light that pushes back the growing darkness without trying to defeat it. Shadows stretch and deepen, dancing faintly along the walls before coming to rest. The temple does not resist the night. It welcomes it, allowing darkness and light to coexist in balance. Inside the meditation hall, the monks gather again. The space feels familiar, shaped by countless evenings just like this one. The stone floor has cooled, but the air holds a gentle warmth from the day. The monks sit quietly, letting the body settle, letting the mind slow. Breath moves in and out, steady and calm, guided by nothing more than awareness. Outside, the sky darkens gradually. The first stars begin to appear, faint at first, then clearer as the light fades. They emerge without announcement, scattered across the vastness above. At this height, their light feels close, sharp, and steady, like distant companions watching over the night. A light wind returns, brushing softly against the prayer flags. They stir gently, their fabric whispering in a language without words. The sound is subtle, rhythmic, soothing. It blends with the quiet hum of the temple, becoming part of the evening's texture rather than a disruption. Snow that melted during the day has begun to refreeze in shaded places. Thin layers of ice form along stone edges and wooden beams, catching lamplight briefly before fading into shadow. Droplets that fell earlier are now still, their movement complete for the night. After meditation, the monks rise slowly. There is no rush to leave the hall. Each movement feels intentional, grounded. They step quietly through the corridors, their footsteps softened by age-smoothed stone. Doors are closed gently, never allowed to make sharp sounds. Lamps are adjusted to their night setting, offering enough light for comfort without brightness. In the kitchen, a simple evening meal is prepared. The sounds are minimal and familiar. Water warms. Bowls are set out carefully. The monks eat in silence, sharing the space without exchange of words. The food is warm and nourishing, grounding the body as the night grows colder outside. When the meal is complete, everything is cleaned and returned to its place. No object is left out of alignment. Order here is not strictness, but care, a natural extension of attention. The kitchen grows quiet again, its purpose fulfilled until morning. Outside, darkness settles fully across the valley. The mountains become silhouettes against the star-filled sky. Their shapes are still clear, still powerful, yet softened by night. The valley below disappears into shadow, holding its mysteries without revealing them. The river continues its endless movement far below, now completely hidden by darkness. Its sound remains faint but steady, a quiet reminder of continuity. It flows without pause, indifferent to night or day, carrying time forward gently. The monks begin to retire to their sleeping quarters. Mats are laid out neatly. Blankets are folded and then drawn close. The rooms are dimly lit, just enough to navigate safely. Lamps are extinguished one by one, leaving behind pockets of darkness that feel comforting rather than empty. As the monks lie down, the body releases the last of the day's effort. Muscles soften. Breath slows. The mind loosens its hold on thought, drifting naturally toward rest. Sleep here arrives without struggle. It is invited, not forced. Outside, the temperature drops further. Frost spreads quietly across stone and wood, reclaiming surfaces that had briefly warmed during the day. The stars shine more brightly now, their light unbroken by clouds. The moon rises slowly, casting pale silver across the highest peaks, tracing their outlines once more. The prayer flags hang nearly still, heavy with cold. Occasionally, a faint breeze lifts them just enough to remind the world that air is still moving, that nothing is completely still, even in the deepest quiet. Inside the temple, silence settles again, rich and layered. It holds the memory of the day's movements, the warmth of shared presence, the calm of evening meditation. The walls seem to absorb this quiet, storing it gently within their ancient stone. Time stretches and thins. Hours pass unnoticed. The monks sleep deeply, their rest unbroken. Dreams, if they come, are soft and spacious, without sharp edges or urgency. The body and mind rest together, supported by the steady presence of the mountain. The night deepens further. The moon climbs higher, then begins its slow descent. Shadows shift almost imperceptibly across the snow-covered ground. Stars move across the sky, marking time without sound. The hidden Himalayan temple remains unchanged, rooted in stillness. Night wraps around it once more, familiar and complete. There is no beginning here, no ending, only a continuous flow of rest and waking, light and dark, breath and silence. And as the long night unfolds again, gentle and unbroken, the temple breathes quietly with the mountains, holding space for calm, for rest, for the deep peace that arrives when nothing is required, and the world is allowed to simply be. The night grows deeper and more settled, as if it has found its most comfortable shape. Darkness no longer feels like an absence of light, but a presence in its own right, soft and enveloping. The temple rests within it without resistance, held gently by stone, snow, and sky. The cold outside sharpens slightly, but inside, warmth remains balanced and calm. Stars continue their slow movement across the heavens. At this height, they seem especially clear, their light steady and unwavering. Some appear brighter than others, yet none demand attention. They simply exist, scattered across the vastness, marking the passage of time in a way that feels reassuring rather than urgent. Snow lies undisturbed across the courtyard. Its surface reflects faint starlight, giving the ground a subtle glow. Stone paths remain hidden beneath, resting until morning. The prayer flags hang quietly, their colors muted in the darkness, their edges stiff with frost. They move only when the air itself chooses to move, never on their own. Inside the sleeping chambers, the monks remain still. Breath rises and falls slowly, evenly. The body has surrendered fully to rest, supported by years of practice that allow sleep to arrive naturally. Muscles relax completely. The mind, no longer occupied by the events of the day, drifts in a spacious calm. Somewhere deep within the temple walls, stone holds the memory of warmth from daylight. It releases it gradually, just enough to soften the cold of night. The air inside feels stable and quiet, neither too warm nor too cold. Balance is maintained without effort. Far below, the river continues its endless path through darkness. It does not know the temple is there, nor does it need to. Its steady movement adds to the deep rhythm of the night, a reminder that motion and stillness can exist together without conflict. A faint sound passes through the air, perhaps the shifting of ice on a distant ridge, or snow settling further into itself. It is brief and gentle, fading almost as soon as it is noticed. Silence returns immediately, fuller than before. Time moves forward without being felt. Hours pass, yet nothing changes in any noticeable way. The moon drifts slowly across the sky, climbing higher, then beginning its gradual descent. Its light traces the edges of peaks and ridges, then moves on, leaving them once again in shadow. Within one chamber, a monk turns slightly in his sleep. The movement is minimal, a natural adjustment, followed by stillness. His breath remains calm. Sleep deepens again, uninterrupted. Outside, frost thickens along shaded stone. Ice crystals grow slowly, shaping themselves delicately along edges and corners. Each crystal forms without sound, guided by temperature and time alone. The world feels precise and gentle, governed by quiet laws that never rush. Clouds drift in from afar, thin and slow-moving. They pass across the sky, softening the starlight briefly, then thinning again. The moon remains visible through them, its glow diffused but steady. Nothing here is sudden. Everything arrives and leaves in its own time. The meditation hall stands empty, yet it does not feel abandoned. The space holds the quiet of the night like a vessel. Shadows rest along the walls. The wooden pillars stand firm, patient, unchanged. The floor remains cool and smooth, waiting without expectation. As the night reaches its deepest point, the air becomes still once more. Wind pauses. Snow no longer shifts. The entire landscape feels suspended, balanced between motion and rest. It is a moment of complete calm, where nothing is required and nothing is missing. In this stillness, the temple feels almost weightless, as though it is floating within the mountain rather than resting upon it. Stone, wood, air, and silence blend together seamlessly. The boundary between inside and outside feels thin, almost irrelevant. The monks continue to sleep, their rest undisturbed by thought or dream. Awareness sinks deeper, settling into a quiet center that has no words. The body breathes on its own. The heart beats steadily. Everything functions effortlessly. Slowly, very slowly, the quality of darkness begins to change once again. Not with light, but with a subtle easing, a barely perceptible shift that suggests movement beneath stillness. The stars remain bright. The moon continues its path. Yet something in the air feels different, softer, as if the night itself is beginning to loosen its hold. The mountains sense it first. They have felt this transition countless times before. They remain unmoved, yet aware. Stone holds steady. Snow remains cold and quiet. The temple rests between them, cradled by this awareness. Inside the sleeping chambers, breath remains slow and deep. No one wakes yet. The body understands that rest is still needed. The mind remains clear and empty, floating gently within the quiet. Outside, frost glistens faintly under starlight. Shadows stretch long and still. The prayer flags hang silent. The river flows unseen. The sky remains vast and open. The hidden Himalayan temple continues to exist exactly as it is in this moment, without needing to become anything else. Night holds it gently, just as it has done for centuries. Time passes, unnoticed and unmeasured, as the world rests in deep calm, preparing, without hurry, for the slow and gentle return of morning. The night remains calm and expansive, stretching outward in all directions without strain. Darkness settles comfortably against the slopes of the mountains, filling valleys and hollows with quiet depth. The air feels clear and motionless, as though the world itself has chosen to pause and listen. The moon now rests higher in the sky, its light pale and even. It spreads gently across the highest peaks, tracing their ridgelines with soft silver before slipping downward again. Where it touches snow, the surface glows faintly, not bright enough to awaken the eyes, only enough to remind the land that it is seen. Within the temple walls, stillness continues uninterrupted. The monks remain asleep, their bodies completely at ease. Breath flows naturally, deep and steady, unforced and uncounted. There is no separation here between rest and awareness. Sleep is simply another expression of calm attention. Stone walls hold the night quietly. They neither absorb nor resist the cold. They exist in balance, shaped long ago to endure weather and time without complaint. Their surfaces are cool to the touch, yet not harsh. Inside them, silence settles like a gentle presence. Far beyond the temple grounds, wind brushes across distant ridges, too far away to be felt directly. Its movement is suggested only by the slow drift of thin clouds high above. These clouds pass lazily across the stars, softening their light for a moment before allowing it to shine clearly again. Snow rests undisturbed across the courtyard. Its surface has grown firmer as the cold deepened, forming a smooth, quiet blanket. No marks disturb it now. Even memory seems unable to leave an imprint here. Everything feels cleansed, simplified, returned to its most basic form. Inside the meditation hall, the darkness is complete but not heavy. The shape of the room can still be sensed without sight. Pillars stand where they always have. The floor remains wide and open. The space feels awake in its own quiet way, as though it continues to listen even when empty. Time flows without reference. There are no sounds to divide it, no signals to announce its passing. The night moves forward gently, like a slow river beneath ice. Nothing urges it on. Nothing holds it back. At the edge of the temple grounds, a pine branch releases a final cluster of frost. The crystals fall softly, scattering soundlessly into the snow below. The branch lifts slightly afterward, relieved of its weight, then becomes still again. Deep below, the river continues its unbroken path. It carries the melt of distant snowfields, the memory of past seasons, the quiet momentum of gravity. Though unseen, its presence remains constant, anchoring the silence with subtle motion. Within one chamber, a monk's breath deepens further. The chest rises fully, then falls slowly, releasing warmth into the cool air. The body rests without tension, supported by habit and trust. There is nothing to guard against here, nothing to prepare for. The night reaches its deepest hour. Cold stabilizes. The air becomes crisp and clear, as if sharpened by stillness itself. Every surface feels defined, yet softened by darkness. The mountains stand vast and immovable, their forms both visible and hidden at once. Stars continue their slow migration across the sky. Some sink lower, others rise to replace them. The pattern shifts gently, unnoticed by those below, yet marking the quiet progress of time. Their light remains calm and steady, never flickering, never demanding attention. The prayer flags remain still, their fabric heavy with cold. They hold the night without movement, like sentinels of patience. When the air eventually stirs again, they will respond. Until then, they rest. Inside the temple, the air remains balanced. Warmth lingers faintly where it is needed, releasing itself slowly. There is no struggle against the cold, only coexistence. The body adapts. Stone adapts. Silence adapts. Clouds thin and drift away, leaving the sky open once more. The moon's light sharpens briefly as it passes through the clearing, then softens again as it descends toward the horizon. Shadows shift so slowly they cannot be perceived directly, only inferred by their gradual change. In the sleeping quarters, awareness sinks even deeper. dreams, if they arise, are simple and spacious. There are no images with edges, no stories that pull the mind forward. Perhaps there is only the feeling of floating, of resting on something vast and steady. The mountain seems to breathe, not with movement, but with presence. Its mass holds the temple securely, shielding it from wind and weather. It offers stability without effort, a reminder that endurance does not require tension. As the night continues, the quality of darkness begins to change once more. It does not lighten yet, but it loosens slightly, becoming less dense. This shift is subtle, felt rather than seen. The world prepares, quietly, without announcement. Inside, the monks remain asleep. Their bodies know the rhythm well. There is no need to wake yet. Rest is still unfolding, deep and complete. Outside, frost sparkles faintly beneath starlight. Snow remains smooth and untouched. The valley stays hidden, holding its quiet depths without revealing them. The hidden Himalayan temple remains exactly as it is, suspended within this moment. Nothing presses forward. Nothing lingers behind. Time continues to move gently, unnoticed, as night holds the world in calm attention, allowing everything to rest fully before the slow return of morning. Very slowly, the night begins to thin once again, not in brightness, but in texture. Darkness becomes lighter in feeling, more spacious, as if it is slowly releasing the world back into motion. The change is so subtle that it could pass unnoticed, yet everything senses it. The mountains, the snow, the temple walls all respond quietly, without movement, without sound. The sky remains dark, but it no longer feels heavy. Stars still shine clearly, yet their presence seems gentler now, as though they are stepping back to make room for what will come later. The moon rests lower, its pale light brushing the slopes one last time before drifting beyond the ridges. Within the temple, sleep continues, deep and undisturbed. The monks remain wrapped in stillness, their bodies resting naturally, supported by steady breath and quiet awareness. The rhythm of breathing remains slow and even, rising and falling like distant waves that never break. Stone floors retain the cold of night, yet they no longer feel unyielding. There is a sense of balance returning, a quiet preparation for warmth that will arrive in its own time. Wooden beams hold firm, unchanged, carrying centuries of nights and mornings within their grain. Outside, frost holds fast along shaded edges, but in places where moonlight has lingered, it begins to loosen slightly. Ice crystals soften, their sharp edges rounding imperceptibly. Nothing melts yet. The change is internal, a shift in readiness rather than form. Far below, the river continues its steady flow, now carrying the faintest hint of warmth from unseen sources. Its pace remains unchanged. It does not hurry toward morning. It does not resist the night. It simply continues, guided by the shape of the land and the pull of gravity. The prayer flags remain still, heavy with cold, their fabric quiet and patient. They have known countless nights like this, countless transitions that required no action on their part. They wait without expectation, trusting the rhythm they have always known. Inside the meditation hall, darkness holds the space gently. Though empty, the hall feels alive with quiet presence. The air seems to rest against the walls, untroubled. Shadows remain where they have settled, neither retreating nor advancing. Time moves forward without signal. The deepest hours of night pass softly, like breath passing through the body. Nothing marks them except the slow drift of stars and the subtle easing of darkness. In one sleeping chamber, a monk stirs slightly, then becomes still again. The movement is unconscious, a simple adjustment to comfort. Breath continues unbroken. Sleep deepens once more. Outside, the mountain air begins to change almost imperceptibly. It grows a fraction less sharp, a fraction more open. The cold remains, but it no longer tightens. It rests calmly, coexisting with stone and snow. Clouds gather faintly on the horizon, thin and pale, barely visible against the dark sky. They move slowly, as though unsure whether to approach or remain distant. Their presence softens the starlight at the edges of the sky, creating a gentle gradient between darkness and what will come next. The snow-covered courtyard remains untouched. Its surface reflects the dim light of stars, smooth and quiet. No sound disturbs it. No movement crosses it. It feels complete as it is. Inside the temple, warmth lingers subtly where bodies rest. Stone absorbs and releases it gently, maintaining balance. The air remains still, free of drafts, holding the quiet carefully. The night now carries a sense of nearing completion, though nothing announces it. There is no rush, no urgency. The transition approaches the way a long breath approaches its end, naturally and without force. High above, the stars shift again, almost imperceptibly. Some fade slightly, others remain strong. The sky begins to feel wider, less crowded, though it remains dark. The mountains continue to stand watch, vast and unmoving. They have witnessed this transition countless times, yet they remain fully present for each one. They do not anticipate the morning, nor do they cling to the night. They simply exist, steady and enduring. Within the monk's sleep, awareness remains clear and open, though no thoughts arise. The body rests deeply. The mind floats gently in a space without edges. There is nothing to hold on to and nothing to let go of. Outside, frost glimmers faintly, responding to the shifting air. Snow remains firm and quiet. The valley below stays hidden, holding its depth without revealing it. The temple rests at the center of it all, unchanged. Stone walls, wooden beams, narrow windows, and quiet corridors remain exactly as they are, shaped by time and care. They hold the night gently, just as they will hold the day. As the final stretch of night unfolds, calm deepens rather than fades. There is no sense of ending, only continuation. Darkness softens, silence remains full, and the world stays suspended in peaceful balance. The hidden Himalayan temple breathes quietly with the mountains, wrapped in this long, gentle moment between darkness and light. Nothing is required. Nothing is expected. Time continues its slow, patient movement, carrying the world forward without sound, as the night gradually prepares to give way once more to the soft return of morning. The sky holds its darkness a little longer, allowing the world to remain suspended in rest. Yet within that darkness, a subtle spaciousness continues to grow. It feels as though the night is gently loosening its embrace, not releasing it fully, but softening it enough for the next moment to arrive without resistance. The stars remain visible, but their light feels calmer now, less sharp. They seem to settle farther into the background, content to observe rather than illuminate. The moon, now low and distant, offers only a faint wash of silver across the highest slopes, its influence quiet and nearly complete. Inside the temple, the air feels steady and balanced. Nothing stirs unnecessarily. The stone walls hold the temperature gently, and the silence within them feels deep and protective. The monks continue to sleep, their rest uninterrupted, their breathing slow and even, rising and falling with the same rhythm it has followed throughout the night. In the sleeping chambers, blankets lie softly against still bodies. The texture of woven fabric, the firmness of the mats, the coolness of the air all exist without drawing attention. The body senses them without effort, remaining relaxed, supported, at ease. Outside, the snow-covered courtyard reflects the dim sky in muted tones. The surface remains smooth and untouched, a quiet field of white resting beneath the stars. Frost clings to stone edges and wooden beams, catching faint light before settling back into shadow. Far below, the river continues its silent journey. Its sound remains distant, nearly indistinguishable from silence itself. It moves steadily through darkness, carrying water shaped by mountains and time, never pausing, never rushing. The prayer flags hang quietly, their fabric heavy and still. They hold their place without movement, as if listening closely to the air itself. When the wind eventually returns, they will respond. Until then, they remain calm and patient. Within the meditation hall, darkness fills the space completely. Yet the room does not feel empty. It feels attentive, as though it is holding awareness gently, waiting without expectation. Pillars stand firm. The floor remains cool and smooth. The hall remembers every breath that has passed through it. Time moves forward without markers. No bell rings. No sound announces change. The night continues its slow progression, guided only by the turning of the earth and the quiet movement of the sky. The cold outside remains steady, no longer deepening. It settles into a stable presence, clear and crisp. The air feels clean, refined by hours of stillness. Each breath taken within the temple feels complete, unforced, natural. Clouds drift faintly along the horizon, thin and pale. They move slowly, barely perceptible against the dark sky. Their presence softens the boundary between darkness and what will come next, creating a gentle transition rather than a sharp divide. In one chamber, a monk's breath pauses briefly at the top of an inhale, then releases slowly. The pause feels natural, unintentional, like a moment of complete rest between movements. The body remains relaxed. Sleep continues without interruption. Outside, ice crystals hold their shape along shaded surfaces. They glisten faintly, then fade back into the darkness as the angle of light shifts. Snow remains firm and quiet, holding its form with gentle strength. The mountains stand vast and unmoving, their presence constant. They neither sleep nor wake. They simply exist, supporting the temple without effort, offering stability without demand. Their silhouettes remain strong against the sky, both visible and hidden at once. As the night approaches its final hours, the air begins to feel subtly more open. Darkness remains, yet it feels less dense, less enclosing. The space between stars seems wider, the sky more expansive. The world prepares quietly, without any signal or sound. Inside the temple, rest continues. The monks remain asleep, their awareness settled deeply, untouched by thought or urgency. The body rests fully. The mind remains clear and open, floating gently in quiet. Outside, frost sparkles faintly under starlight. The courtyard remains undisturbed. The valley stays hidden, holding its depth without revealing it. The temple rests at the center of this stillness, unchanged. Stone walls, narrow windows, wooden beams, and quiet corridors remain exactly as they have been for centuries. They hold the night patiently, just as they will hold the day. The sky begins to show the faintest suggestion of change far to the east. It is not light yet, only a slight easing of darkness, a thinning that feels more like breath than color. The stars remain visible. The world remains quiet. Nothing wakes yet. Nothing moves forward. The moment stretches, calm and complete, allowing rest to deepen fully before the next transition arrives. The hidden Himalayan temple continues to breathe softly with the mountains, wrapped in this long, gentle pause between night and morning. Time flows onward without sound, without pressure, carrying the world forward with infinite patience, as everything remains held in deep, unbroken calm. At last, the faintest suggestion of morning begins to take shape beyond the eastern ridges. It is not yet light, not yet color, only a subtle softening of the darkness, as if the sky itself is gently inhaling. The stars remain visible, calm and steady, but their presence feels quieter now, less insistent, as though they are preparing to rest. The air shifts almost imperceptibly. Cold remains, but it no longer tightens. It relaxes slightly, opening space rather than pressing inward. Stone, snow, and would respond in silence, adjusting without sound. The mountains sense the change first, as they always do, holding it without movement, without reaction. Inside the temple, the monks continue to sleep. Their rest is deep, complete, undisturbed. Breath flows slowly, evenly, filling the chest and releasing without effort. The body lies heavy and supported, fully surrendered to stillness. There is no thought of waking yet, no pull toward action. Rest is still unfolding. Outside, the courtyard remains quiet and untouched. Snow holds its smooth surface, reflecting the dim sky with a soft, pale glow. Frost clings gently to stone edges and wooden beams, sparkling faintly where starlight still reaches. The prayer flags hang motionless, their fabric heavy with cold, their presence patient and enduring. Far below, the river continues its endless path through darkness. It carries the night within it, just as it will carry the day. Its movement remains steady and calm, a reminder that time flows even when nothing seems to change. Slowly, the sky begins to open. Darkness thins further, becoming spacious rather than dense. The stars start to fade, not all at once, but one by one, slipping gently from sight as their work completes. The moon, now low and distant, releases its final traces of silver from the peaks and disappears beyond the ridges. Inside one chamber, a monk stirs softly. His breath deepens, then settles again. Awareness rises slightly, like a ripple on still water, then smooths out. He does not wake yet. The body knows there is still time. The meditation hall remains empty and quiet. Pale light begins to gather faintly at its highest openings, not yet reaching the floor, only touching the air. The space feels open and ready, holding both the memory of night and the promise of morning without distinction. The mountains begin to reveal themselves again, their outlines sharpening gently against the changing sky. Valleys remain in shadow, deep and quiet, while higher ridges emerge first, calm and steady. There is no drama in this return of light, only a gradual unveiling. Within the temple walls, warmth begins to return subtly, drawn not from the sun directly, but from the simple fact of the world turning. Stone releases the cold it held through the night, little by little. The air remains cool, but it feels alive now, refreshed. One by one, the monks begin to wake. Eyes open slowly. Bodies stretch just enough to release the last of sleep. Each monk takes a moment to lie still, noticing breath, noticing the quiet, noticing the gentle presence of the new day without naming it. No bells ring yet. No voices rise. Morning is allowed to arrive on its own terms. The first monk sits up and places his feet on the cool stone floor. He remains still for a moment, grounded, present. Another follows. Movements are unhurried, careful, respectful of the calm that still fills the space. Outside, the sky shifts into pale blue, clean and open. The snow reflects this new color softly, no longer glowing with starlight, but resting beneath daylight's gentle touch. Frost begins to loosen, though it does not melt quickly. Everything transitions slowly, without force. The monks step into the courtyard together. Their breath rises briefly in the cool air, then dissolves. They face the mountains, standing in silence, sharing the moment without words. The peaks stand clear now, vast and familiar, holding the sky as they always have. Somewhere within the temple, a bell is lifted. It rings once, low and calm, its sound spreading outward before fading naturally into the air. The day has begun. Yet nothing feels different. Nothing feels rushed. Night has not ended so much as it has transformed, carrying its calm forward into the light. The hidden Himalayan temple remains steady and unchanged. Stone walls, wooden beams, narrow windows, and quiet corridors continue to hold space for silence. The mountains remain watchful. The river flows on. The sky opens wider. And as the monks begin their day with the same gentle attention that carried them through the night, the world settles once more into its natural rhythm. Breath follows breath. Light follows darkness. Rest follows movement. Everything continues, calm and complete, just as it has for centuries, and just as it will, long after this moment fades softly into the quiet flow of time.